So I started thinking about just in my life, the women who have had some kind of guided me in some way, were mentors or women just who really supported me. And just to really shout out for that, because I think that is so important for women to do for one another. Welcome to The Way of the Muse, a podcast for women who want to create richness in every area of their lives, from business and career to lifestyle, relationships, family, purpose, and fulfillment. I'm Gigi Sage.
And I'm McKenna Sage. We're a mother-daughter coaching team, and combined, we've spent over 4 decades helping people create their best and most fully expressed lives. If you're ready to step into your bigger dreams with ease, fun, and flow, you're in the right place. Let's get into the episode.
Hello, hello.
Hi there. Hi, McKenna. Hello, everyone.
Nice to see you, Gigi.
It's always so funny when we're on here. I see you sitting right beside me.
Looks like we're in person together.
It does. It does. Yeah. So we have a good topic today. Yeah.
Yes, we do. So it was just International Women's Day a few days ago. And so Gigi had the idea to really talk about that. So why don't you start, Gigi, about what International Women's Day is about, a little bit about where it came from, because I think that really leads into our topic today beautifully.
Yeah, I'm just going to read it. I got it from ChatGPT. So International Women's Day began in the early 1900s, tied to women's push for better working conditions, voting rights, and equality. It became official in 1911 with rallies in several countries. Over time, it evolved into a global celebration of women's achievements while still spotlighting ongoing struggles for gender equality. Today, it's a day to honor the women who've paved the way, raise awareness about what still needs changing, and celebrate women's contributions everywhere. I love that.
It's beautiful.
We've done
I
a
had
lot.
no idea I had no idea it'd been going on for so long. I thought it was like a new thing in the age of social media that took off, but that's awesome.
Yeah, a long time, especially for women's rights. Yeah, women have been fighting for it for a long time.
Absolutely. So, Gigi, do you want to kind of share your thoughts about this topic?
Yeah, so, when I reflected on it, when I was thinking about it, a couple of people reached out and just said, Happy International Women's Day. And I thought what an amazing thing it is of the women, that how we impact each other and how we learn from one another. And so I started thinking about just in my life, the women who have had some kind of guided me in some way, were mentors or women just who really supported me. And just to really shout out for that, because I think that is so important for women to do for one another. And more you see that. There's just amazing communities of women all over the world now. But I do believe that even in our current situation and economic situation and everything that's going on, that it's even more important than ever for women to really come together and see how can we do good with each other, and how can we bond and build together to change the world and also help put peace on this planet. So,
I love that. So I think you're going to share some of your stories, and I'll mention some of mine in terms of women who have impacted us, not only as mentors, but sometimes also just really giving a leg up or supporting in an important time in our lives. And then we'd love for you, listening, to do the same, to first reflect on really who have those women been in your path who have done something like that for you. And is there any way you want to thank them or honor that? That's a great starting point.
Yeah. And I think the thanking, that's what the day is about too, right? The acknowledgement. But I do think that special reaching out and thanking can also be really, really special too. Yeah. Yeah.
So what was one of your early experiences of this?
One of my early ones that really stands out is when I think it was like 10 to to maybe 13, 14, I was part of a program, and it was a modeling. I actually went to a school for modeling when I was a little bit older, but there was a woman, it was at a department store, and a woman that led it. I remember her name, Lynn Ballard, and she was the person who ran the modeling. We did fashion shows. We did etiquette, we did all kinds of things. And she really took an interest in me, and she let me basically help her kind of lead. I was put in situations where I really was the set up the classes, and then I would go and, with the fashion shows and everything, help the other girls. And so many different things. We did mannequin modeling, we did runway modeling. She taught us how to do the turns and everything. But her interest in me gave me so much confidence at that time. And she was such a role model because she was extremely elegant, very poised, and extremely kind. And so, yeah, I think it was, I've thought about that, but I think it was really an important point for me. It really gave me somebody outside of my my world or my family, and somebody who really kind of believed in me.
I love that story. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you shared about, we were talking before this, you were telling me about the woman we talk about in our book, right? Who early on really was the reason you got introduced to this kind of work, right?
Yeah. So June Pinnock, and June, if you ever listen to this, I've reached out to June. In fact, I met June when I moved back to Houston. I had 2 kids. I was divorced at the time, went to work in a company called Houston Network, and I met all the people, and then I met June, and June was this amazing bright light, talked about living her passion in 1985. And she's the one who introduced me to the first workshop I did. She was a lot of my encouragement. She really pushed me to go into it. And she was super fun, still is super fun, and a wise, very wise woman. And my interaction with her is the reason why I do what I do today. Yeah, she interjected in my life hugely. And it's so funny because I didn't talk to her for 25 years. And then I saw her online, and she had a beautiful kind of retreat center place that's very kind of eclectic. And but we ended up going there and doing a retreat for women there. I hadn't talked to her. And so she set that up, and it was beautiful. Remember, in St. Thomas, right? St. Thomas.
I can't remember. I always get St. Thomas and St. Martin mixed up.
It was St. Thomas. Yeah. We were on the edge of a cliff in this glass room. It was absolutely stunning. So she's another one. And then again, I've had so many, just even also clients that have been with me for years and years and years, who have just done so much for me and introduced me to amazing people. And, Katya, who, when I was doing retreats for so many years, and then I stopped for a couple of years, and she said, I'll get women together. And she really started me back in my retreats of doing Arts of a Woman in Hawaii again. So yeah, so many of those times when women have lifted me up and supported me.
Yeah. And for those of you who have read the book, we just put out our book. Some of you may know that, some of you may not, called The Wisdom That Raised Me, A Daughter's Journey into Wholeness, Wisdom, and Womanhood. And we mentioned June in the book, but not by name. We changed everybody's names in the book except for ours, basically, and my husband's. So, but yeah, we talk about that story. And it's so interesting. I was thinking as you were sharing, Gigi, that not only is that a great story of a woman empowering another woman, but it's also such an interesting reflection of how one moment can change your life. Like if you hadn't gone to that seminar, you would have had a completely different life. 40 years of a career, several of your children, many things that came out of this one, moment in time. So also for people who are just sitting there thinking about like, oh, they want to make a change or whatever, it's like, you just never know in life. That can happen at any point in your life that you could have a pivotal turning point like that. I just think that's really cool to think about. and that it only takes one connection sometimes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have to say another one, that a woman from Germany who absolutely opened up Germany and really a lot of Europe. You know, I had already been in Switzerland doing my work some, and she ended up going to Switzerland for an evening class and meeting one of our coaches and trainers, and then flew into Austin and worked with us. And then she went back and said, hey, you know, I'll bring you guys into Germany. And that one moment again, oh my gosh, opened up so many doors, right? That
We
wouldn't
still
have
have so many
happened.
German clients. I speak German
Absolutely.
because of
Yeah.
that.
And a
Because
lot
of
of
all the
my
time.
career has been in, you know, with Germany and Germans, and my first book was published there. So you're so right, McKenna. I was talking to a client about that the other day, and she was saying something about how that happened. I said, you know, at my age and all the life I've lived, I just have to tell you, you can never say, oh, that'll never happen, because you will, you know, 10 years from now, you'll go, how on earth did that ever happen? You know,
Mm,
it just seemed impossible.
yeah.
So, but somebody that's sitting much further in life can tell you, you know, you got to keep your options open and keep on seeing yourself, you know, moving forward, or seeing the dreams that you want, or whatever. That's a different topic, but I think it's very important to talk about. And I think it's also important because, you know, some of the interventions in my life too have been where people have seen something in me, like this teacher, you know, back when I was modeling, and really kind of pushed me to go in this direction, you know.
Mm,
And McKenna, you've been one of those people for me as well. You mean hugely, hugely. I mean,
yeah.
think about it. All the times you've supported me. And, you know, a lot of times I would have quit a long time ago if it wasn't for you, even though you quit a bunch of times.
I think we both kind of quit here and there, but we managed to come back around, stick with it.
But your belief in me and everything, oh my gosh, you know, I mean, like we said in the book, you really, you know, I think we've both been the wind beneath each other's wings in many, many ways, and held
Yeah,
each other
hugely.
up hugely. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, because obviously you are my biggest mentor, and
Mhm.
I wrote a whole book about it. So if you guys want to hear those stories, you can read the book. And I just recorded the audiobook, so that'll be coming out in a couple of months here. Yeah,
Mhm.
I can tell you that is a marathon for your vocal cords,
Yeah.
but it was fun. And was it going to share? But I was trying to think about other, you know, people and kind of things along the way. And someone that came to mind was, I mean, in university, I definitely had I had men and women. I think it's
Mhm.
important to honor the women, but I definitely had male professors and female professors that were
Sure.
very influential for me. But particularly when we're talking about women, my Spanish professor, Professor Gomez, she was just such a supporter. You know, I don't even know really what exactly or how to describe it, but also I was really curious and open. Like I got in there and I helped put on events for the Spanish, you know, for the
Mhm.
languages department. And I think she just saw that I was open and curious, and we just developed a relationship, which was really supportive for me in my university years. And then I ended up winning the award for the languages department when I graduated that year, which I'm sure she had something to do with. So I'm
Mhm.
grateful for that. But yeah, she was awesome, super awesome. I still see her stuff on social media. So, and then one that came to mind really strongly was when I was in my copywriting career. And in the last couple of years that I was doing copywriting, I was really like burning out, and I was working with all these different clients and always kind of having to get that next client. And then there came a connection to a woman named Destiny, and which I love that name because
Yeah.
it was so perfect. And she was like, hey, I have different clients I work with. And so she kind of tested me out on my copywriting, and then ended up liking what I did so much that she was like, can I hire you to do the copywriting for basically all of my clients? And she just referred that business to me. And I was like, well, do you want me to send you a referral fee? And she said, no, just pass on the best rate to my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically it ended up that in my last couple of years, apart from at the very, very end, I 100% almost wrote exclusively for her clients. And it was awesome because then it was like, I didn't have to think about marketing myself. I got to just do my work and do it really well. And we had our, deadlines and everything. And we developed a really great working relationship. So she was pivotal because I think that just gave me so much stability and grounding and also experience. Some of her clients were my favorite clients I worked with. In fact, one of them that I ended up writing for quite some time ended up going on to hire my sister Brianna, your daughter.
That's
Brianna.
Right. Yeah.
Her name was Colette Barron Reed. Colette Barron Reed, and she is an amazing, spiritual intuitive and oracle card, expert. And she ended up, going on to hire my sister, and they worked with her for years. So just, again, you never know where like one connection can have this ripple effect that just goes out to, even other people in your life. So those are a couple that come to mind for me. That's mine. I think you have a quote, Gigi, you want to share about this, right? From a song.
Yeah, it's not really about this particular thing, but it is. I mean, I guess it is, but it's something
about passing it on,
which I think is so important. Is if you look at the gifts or the things you've learned or the way people have seen you and what that's brought out in you, or like the belief, like I had in McKenna and the belief she's had in me, and honestly, that has been really our what would you say, foundation, right, for our growth in the last 7 years or so. And then along with like I said, a handful of clients who have been with me for most of them over 15 years or 12 to 15 years, and have also just been beside me, encouraged me, and shared so many things. So I think it's so important to turn back around and to share.
Okay, so this is a song by Tim McGraw called Humble and Kind. And he says at the end, don't take for granted the love this life gives you. When you get where you're going, don't forget, turn back around and help the next one in line. Always stay humble and kind.
And I love that because I think that's just so true. I think about that all the time. Like, how do you give? I always am trying to give what I have, to share it, right? And also the gifts that were just, been shared with me through my life and my career and everything. So how do you do that, and what little ways? I'm always trying to do it almost in every conversation I have, and not so much just coaching, just supporting people or giving them confidence or giving them a different perspective or something to where they go out and they're like, oh yeah, it's interesting. I have to just share this quickly. Is I had that just a few days ago with my daughter, Mariah. I was talking with her and she shared with me a story about herself. And when she shared it, I was like, she was sharing it so I could learn from it. And it almost like broke a spell off of me. I feel like it's like when she said it, I woke up and I was
you were in like a daze or a trance. How do you explain broke a spell?
I think it's like, if you ever had, you get caught up on a thought or a stress, or, I've had a lot of things breaking down in my life recently. And I was actually spiraling in a certain direction. And when she said something to me, it made me stop and think and go, oh my gosh, she's so right. And it just made me calm down completely. It was amazing. Yeah. So that's a gift.
I think that's such a great example too, because like you said, she was sharing just a story from her experience. She wasn't telling you, oh, you should do this, or giving you advice. She was just like, this is what happened for me. And then you got something there. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I love that you brought her up, because she was actually one of the other ones I wanted to mention, that Mariah has been a huge person in my life, in so many ways, at so many different times. I think just I was thinking about that, like even in the book, I talk about healing the mother and father wound. And I remember very clearly, like when I was going through all the parts of healing the father, wound for myself and my relationship to my dad and our dad. I remember a lot of conversations with you, and I remember a lot of conversations with Mariah. Mm-hmm. And she's just such a great, deep listener, that it was really helpful and really healing. And she's been that for me all through my life. And then hugely in the journey to motherhood, she's been pivotal, just helping me with so many things and answering so many questions. So for me, a lot of mine have come through family, which is such a gift.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Mariah for me too. I mean, she has just incredible amount of wisdom. Yeah. So much wisdom. So you as the listener, to think about, first of all, who have been the women in your life and what have they shared? And then I think, how can you turn around and share yourself, right? McKenna had some different ways that you were thinking they could share, huh?
Like you said, I think it's hugely just in every moment, in every conversation, or if you see someone, I do the same thing you do, Gigi. I'm always looking to see how can I be in service to people, even in small ways, that we don't know they could be huge for people.
Yeah.
And so I was just thinking as you were talking about my mother-in-law, which it's funny, but she brings up things all the time that I said to her. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I barely even remember saying these things to her, but that they sometimes were really, she thinks about them and they stick with her. And it's been really helpful for her in different times and different seasons. But I know that when I'm with her, as I am with everybody, I'm always, of course, looking to see how can I be in service? Is there anything I can share, or any perspective or a resource or what have you? So that, I think, is the biggest thing, is really consciously looking, like, if you haven't thought about this, are there women in your life, or young women or girls who, there's some way that you could support them, big or small, and not thinking that it has to be this huge thing. Mm-hmm. Is actually a part of it.
Yeah.
If there is someone you feel called to mentor or something like that, that's great, but it doesn't need to be something that takes a lot of your time. It's just more when those opportunities come up, I think really acting on the impulse and seeing how you can support people.
Yeah.
Is there something else you see there?
No, I think simple things, just to start to notice, and how can you pass it on? And I'm sure many of the women that are listening are doing that, but, making a conscious choice to do it, and maybe see even more ways that, you have things that would be so valuable for the younger generation, or like you said, or a friend. I've also a dear friend here in Houston that I reconnected with, who we were not, so close many years ago. I knew her, but she's become such a great friend. And her daughter reached out and said, "Thank you so much for being such a great friend to my mom." And I was like, oh my gosh, she is like, such a good friend to me, And so in that, just that, being a really good friend to somebody, and it's reciprocal. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was going to say one last thing, which is the other way to go about this would be to think about what are areas in which you have skills or strengths, or in which you feel energy rich or resourced. And it feels like it would be easy for you to give from a place of overflow. So for example, you and I both have our work, right? We have our skill and our strength as coaches. And so of course, a lot of how we end up doing this with people is by saying something in a conversation or dropping something in a certain way, because we know how to do that in such a way that it doesn't feel like we're just giving people advice or telling them what they should do. So that's one of our strengths. But another strength of mine is health. I know a lot about health. I've been through a lot in my health journey, and I'm always looking with the people around me to see, is there something I can share with them, or a resource, or if I talk to someone and they have something going on, if they're open to it, I'll share, resources and ideas with them, and they can take it or leave it. But it's like, I have so much to share in that area that I'm happy to always have that conversation with people. And it's also something that's easy for me.
Yeah.
If you know a ton about finances and you're really great with investing, is that something that you can share in some way with people around you and really help lift them up, other women? So that's another way to think about it, is where are you really, again, you have strength or skill, or it's just like easy for you in that area, but it's a challenging area for other women. And then how could you give back with that skill or that strength?
Yeah. And I love you made that point that your resources and you have the energy, so you're not doing it and it's taking from you, which is great. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Absolutely. Distinction. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's pretty much it. Happy International Women's Day, everyone. A belated one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we will see you in the next episode.
Let's acknowledge ourselves for how far we've come. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's our episode for today, but let's not make it the end of our love story. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and think of some women in your life you'd love to share it with. And if you want to learn more about our events and programs, visit wayofthemuse.com. See you next time.